Medical school teaches you how to be a great doctor, but it doesn't prepare you for the reality of opening your own practice where you become the HR manager, the head of marketing, and the CEO all at once. Today's guest knows this balancing act perfectly. Dr. Latti is an aesthetic doctor with 13 years of experience and the founder of MASA Medical Aesthetics in Johannesburg. As Dr. Latti puts it, her work goes beyond just needles and lasers. She's actively rewriting the narrative of what beauty and medicine can look like for Africans, standing as a healer and a hope bearer for the next generation. In this episode, we're unpacking the reality of wearing multiple hats, the game-changing impact of having mentors who have walked the path before you, and how finding the right partners can take your vision to the exact next level. We also launched a free practice playbook, which you can download by clicking the link in the description. Dr. Latti.
Hi, Shavir.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Taking out the time from away from patients,
yes,
your busy clinic, your busy life.
Yes.
I think maybe just to get started, I want to take it back to the beginning, Limpopo.
Yes.
How did this little girl who was also had a bit of a tomboy?
Yeah.
But I know you love science. How did you get into medicine?
From Limpopo, the eldest of 3 children. I have 2 younger brothers who are in IT, and I had 2 parents who overprotective. And yes, I was a tomboy until around varsity. But yeah, when I was in high school, I guess I was just good at maths, sciences, and chemistry and whatever. And at the time, I was more into the engineering world. Because my father was, he loved fixing stuff.
Right.
So I used to just think that was more fascinating.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe I could do engineering and the sciences. And my mother, who is a retired teacher now, who used to be my teacher, when I told her that I wanted to do mechanical engineering, the first thing she said to me that, where have you ever seen a female mechanical engineer? What are you going to do, fix cars?
Right.
Then I decided, okay, let me go study medicine. And I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved the sciences, but also just the human interaction. I think I thrive a lot on just interacting with people and getting to know them. And I think that's how I ended up as well at where I am now at MASA. Yeah.
And was there a specific moment that you felt like medicine is the route? Because you mentioned mechanical engineering, because that's obviously a huge shift. Was there a moment where you felt like maybe it's patient care, making a difference? Because obviously, and I think the next point there is that growing up in Limpopo, I don't think there were a lot of black female doctors.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you, I had a conversation with my dad actually, where I was saying to him that I'm interested in mechanical engineering and medicine. And he said to me that they're actually the same things. You're fixing either humans or cars and
things.
machines.
Yeah.
So you have to decide what you want to who you want to interact with.
Right.
And for me, it was I love people. I love human conversations. I love human connections, and that's how I ended up in medicine.
Yeah. Now that's amazing. Yeah. So looking back, do you think there was a specific over and above academics? Was there something specific your parents saw in you that said, hey, like maybe medicine is the route to go?
I actually don't think so, Shavir. I'm a 1K, like these young ones call us.
Yeah.
And I don't think at the time there was ever that options. We didn't have a lot of options. You were either going to be a doctor, a lawyer, and so it's not like we had a lot of options. And I don't think that there was something specific that my parents saw in me. It was just about academics. She's good at maths, she's good at physics and bio, and therefore maybe she must go into the sciences, but which side of the sciences? So for me, it was something that I discovered because back in the day when I was doing medicine anyway, the first 2 years were more about physics, chemistries, and so you only started interacting properly with patients in 3rd year. So that's when I started realizing that yes, this is for me the right path. Yeah.
And then moving into aesthetic, how did that come to be? Because again, we've had conversations. I read a few articles where you mentioned, and we see it all the time when it comes to aesthetic treatments within people of color or the community. They're not too familiar with these treatments. And how are you overcoming that? And maybe just walk us through, how did you get into aesthetics? Because you could have branched in so many different areas, and then obviously you chose aesthetics.
I've always wanted to be a surgeon, but I never knew which part of surgery.
Yeah.
And at some point I wanted to do plastic surgery, but obviously the specializing and the years were just going to be, it was too late for me. I had done some other stuff in business and in around the health sciences. But when it came to aesthetics, it was actually around 2012 when I realized that I was aging and my friends were aging, but there were all these things that we were told about, Botox, fillers, but it was more for Caucasian patients. It was more the white doctors talking about it. And I didn't know any black female doctor who was doing aesthetics. And I thought, if I ever needed to do Botox, who would I go to? Who would understand my skin and understand my facial movements and my contours to say that, obviously I did not want the plastic surgeon because that's more a surgical procedure. So I thought, maybe aesthetic medicine. And I did a short course in 2012 with the American Academy. And that's when I realized that, this is something that I could actually do. And I must say that I have loved aesthetic medicine since,
Yeah. And I think, with that comes, have you seen a difference in people, or let's say black women specifically, with being educated with aesthetics? It's more of a treatment that's available to them. Have you seen the education part of it? Because I think there was a lack of education where it was predominantly like you mentioned, Caucasian as an example. And are you seeing that shift where more black women are learning about these treatments?
I think social media is playing a huge role because in medicine, we've always been told about dermatologists, plastic surgeons, and a GP, for example. If you had any skin problems or anything that you do not like about yourself, because that's basically what aesthetic medicine is. It's just a medical field where whatever that you're not comfortable with about your body, about your face, about your skin, you go to, and you want it in a non-surgical way, that's where you'd go. I think, like I was saying, that social media is playing a huge role because now we're able to reach out to patients and actually tell them that there's another option of doing things non-surgically. You could do a skin peel and have a doctor guide you through the process of a basic skin peel, that it doesn't have to be a therapist or at a shop next door. Because if you think about it, that everyone wants to be beautiful. Yeah. Whether it's a mother in the rural areas who's working the farms and she's wearing that mud, yes, in KZN, and whether it's a domestic worker, that everyone wants to have a pretty face, and so aesthetic medicine gave me that opportunity to say that let's reach out to the woman, the man who says, I'm always in front of, I'm a corporate man and I'm always in front of people and I'm always talking and I have these frown lines and I don't look approachable, and there's toxin to just relax the forehead and you look more approachable, and it's that. And now the shift for me has been, like I was saying to you, that I've always loved surgery. Now we've moved into hair restoration, right? Where a lot of people think that men, especially black men, that if you go bald, you can just shave off your hair. Yeah. Really, you don't need the hair. But I've seen that, especially with black men, especially with Indian men, they want their hair. That I see as many black women and black men and Indian men who want to correct the hair loss, and
Yeah, no, it's a massive industry. It is growing. I think that the pain does exist there. And it's great to see that we have local, doctors like yourself who's able to provide those treatments where generally you would see it online on social media. Turkey is a big one, right? Like everyone traveling to Turkey. And it's great to see that there's professionals like yourself that's able to provide that same level of excellence and service that we generally would have been traveling to. Moving on to entrepreneurship, building a business, you are quite vocal about your husband's presence there. But I think, before we even jump into your husband, it's filled with self-doubt. It's filled with, the uncertainty. And I think coming from, the medical, everything is literally, it's step by step, right? There's procedures, there's SOPs. That's what you learn in medical school. And then coming into business and entrepreneurship, you need that source of strength. Then has your husband been that to you? I know you've mentioned it, but maybe just tell us about your husband's role in your life and in your business.
Yeah, I must say, even before talking about my husband, yes, he has played a huge role, but I think most importantly to talk about my colleagues and people who've come before me. And I'll talk about a Dr. Ricky Smith, Dr. Mpofu, those kind of doctors that actually tell you that it's not all rosy and gloomy, that you can just pop up and open a practice and you're going to be fully booked in the next month and whatever. To say that this is how you start. And especially for a Black young doctor who's not even a specialist, you're starting off as a GP and you have to develop that skill and talk to patients who do not understand aesthetics, who do not understand Botox or toxin or fillers. There's a lot of misinformation about what aesthetic medicine is, that people are told the moment you use toxin, you're going to have big lips, you're going to have a frozen face, and this and it's those kind of doctors or those kind of communities as an entrepreneur or as a medical doctor where you get into those conversations with them, and it's honest conversations. It's not people who are going to sell you a dream and tell you that it's going to be easy. So that for me has been really important. And when I came into the hair transplant and hair restoration, I had Dr. Peter Asugo, who's a Kenyan doctor who does a lot of great work around Afro hair transplants, and which is a different field on its own. And there's Prof. Glover in KZN, and those kind of doctors that they're a phone call away. And as you know, that in medicine, we're never taught about how to manage a practice. You're only taught about how to take care of a patient. And in terms of a partner or a husband, my husband has really been very supportive. And I must say that he's my biggest cheerleader. That every time when I get home, I know that I have someone who can, he is a marketer in training, and he's training. But you need that, especially if you're a doctor or if you're in the medical field where you don't have any experience in business. You need someone, a sounding board, because if you're running, especially for us, for me, running a practice on my own, you have a lot of self-doubt, a lot of conversations with the accountant, you're the HR manager. You have to fire and hire people. At the same time, you have to be the shoulder to cry on for your employees, and at the same time deal with a patient who's losing her hair and losing self-confidence, losing a marriage. And so it's really great to get home and be able to sit and talk to someone who says, hey, just relax. This is you doing your best.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of things there. Maybe like you mentioned, Dr. Smith and a few others. How important is, we could call it mentorship or having that guidance there? And in the medical space, is that common? Is it common to find your colleagues who are doctors like yourself running practice, sharing, the highs and the lows?
There's not a lot, but there are those that are really willing to open their doors and not see you as competition. And like I was saying, that Dr. Mpofu, I can always send her an SMS, and she runs a very busy practice, but I know that within a day I'll get an answer. I have a friend who is in PE, Dr. Gcina Mahlangeni, who runs a very big practice in hair restoration. And those are the people that that you can always just send a message and they will respond. So it's important to to identify those, to make those connections, and know that you cannot be alone in this field, because there are obviously going to be mistakes. There are obviously going to be those lonely days where you want to have a conversation with a colleague who you've messed up. You've injected toxin, and now a patient comes back with some side effect, and you have to have a colleague that you can just call and say, you know what, I don't know how to correct this. And it also comes down to also not being too proud yourself.
Right.
To say that I am the best in this, and to know that you can. You're always learning, and I think that has really kept me going.
Yeah. So obviously having that supportive community around you does help you, So maybe just, and it's something that you mentioned, within your role, you an accountant, you're an HR manager, the CEO.
You have to deal with Shavir and
exactly.
social media and ads.
So being a healer by profession, and then being a business owner / CEO, how has that transition been for you? Because it's completely different, right? And what I've seen, and maybe just to paint a picture, we work with a lot of medical professionals, and we see a lot of them do find it difficult to transition from just being a healer and working in the business to now building a business and trying to see things from the outside. How has that transition been for you?
It's really been tough, and I'm still finding my feet. But I must say that I never really practiced for a long time in the medical field or in the hospitals and stuff. So soon after my community service, I worked for an NGO, and then I went into corporate, where I had some great guys or mentors in corporate who were able to walk me through business and entrepreneurship and just business. And I think when I left corporate, it was easy for me to move into business, because I went into occupational health, and then soon after that I was able to move into medical aesthetics. But I must say that the most difficult thing has just been that, to balance being the operator and making sure that you're also the accountant or the CFO, making sure that there's revenue, making sure that mid-month you're already calculating that what tax am I paying at the end of this. So that is still something that I'm navigating. And but it also helps to have to also know your strengths, to say that I am a healer and this is my strength. But for me to grow my business, I need a Shavir who is an expert in his field, who will do the ads for me and tell me how to grow the business in terms of social media and whatever platforms, and get an accountant who's going to do that for you. So you can't manage everything. Yeah.
No, I agree. And it's something that, we've had conversations, and building a team is really important. The people around you, your team, we met a few of them. And that leads me to the question, how important is it to make sure you have a strong team? Because that's your foundation. And that, although it's transactional because it's an employee-employee relationship, but also there's a human behind that, and ensuring that they are working towards building their vision alongside you.
Yeah. And Shavir, it's an everyday learning curve. There are days where you have to be the boss and give direction. And there are days where you have to take a backseat and say to, in my team, I work with a lot of young people. And I love working with young people, because I think, especially, they like telling me, they always remind me that we are the 2Ks and you are a 1K. And I love that about them, that they come up with so many new things and new ideas. So when you're able to take a backseat and say, yes, we have a stress session, but today I'm not going to be the boss. You guys lead me and tell me that, are we going in the right direction? Where can we change? What can we do? And but it's an everyday thing that and I work with a team of ladies. Yesterday we had our meeting, and I was saying that, do you actually think that is a bad thing that it's all ladies? Do we need to add a man somewhere? But it's you're dealing with different personalities, and with time we get to learn each other, that if so and so walks in like that, that today is not a good day. And it's been a great learning curve, and I think so far in the years that I've run a practice, the medical aesthetics business, I think I have finally found my dream team.
Yeah, no, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, Dr. Latti, like with the clients that we work with and what we've seen is that the most successful clients, if you're measuring it on financial success, are the ones that has a team there. These guys have been there for many years. You know, they've had kids, you know, throughout, and like that's the strongest foundation. You know, when we meet clients and we find that, hey, like they have issues with their staff, or they don't have a therapist that's not pitching up, and you know, they're always looking, turnover is hard. Like then you get, and then when we do bring them on board, you start to see that there's other things that becomes an issue. So the most successful clinics we've seen is the one, or are the ones that have a strong team. Because basically it's all about what happens when you're not in the room. When you are with your patients, when your therapist is alone, like what conversations is that patient going to come back, you know?
Yes. No. That's absolutely true. And like I was saying that yesterday we were having that discussion with the team to say that what is the MASA journey for a patient? That at the end of the day, the most important person in the room is the patient. That when the patient is happy, the rest of us will be happy. So if you have that kind of a team that understands that from the moment you give a patient directions to come to our practice, and accessibility into our practice is a bit of a difficult one. So if you don't give proper directions, by the time the patient comes in, they're irritated, and by the time you start the treatment, there's already issues. So it's always, for us at MASA, it's the most important thing is that the journey. How do you get to experience MASA? And by the time you leave, you should have that, to say that it's been a great experience from the time I saw the ad on Facebook until I left. And yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I think heading into MASA, which means Sunrise in Spedi.
Yes.
So MASA, tell us a bit about the clinic, and maybe tell us a bit about the clinic, what treatments you offer.
Yeah. So I started 2012 doing medical aesthetics, and MASA is New Dawn and Sunrise in Sepedi, but it also stands for Medical Aesthetics Spa Africa.
Okay.
And we're located in Towood in Forest Town. Beautiful space.
Yeah.
Great energy, and I think we try to create a space where you can do everything. Just come in if you feel you want to disconnect from the world and come and have your me time. You can do that. But at the same time, we also have a space where you can come in and be on your laptop and work there.
Yeah.
So it's not only medical aesthetics where you do the toxins and you get rid of anything that you do not like. I always say that we get rid of anything that you do not like, but non-surgically. And you're able to do your nails, you're able to do a spa treatment, and get to enjoy the space.
Yeah. And I've been there, and I mean, it's amazing. It's one of the...
Thank you.
I don't know if we're comparing, but one of the most beautiful clinics I've been to.
And
I think it's the experience. I think over and above that, it's just a testament to the level of detail. Like every piece of furniture, I can see it was well thought of, probably by you.
No, my sister-in-law.
Okay, so she's like the interior.
Yes.
Okay, but I mean, everything is well put together. And it's more than just a clinic, if you look at it. It's more of an experience. I know we've had conversations as well about the growth of MASA and what you plan to do. So maybe just walk us through 5-10 years time. Where do you see MASA as a brand?
I think more than anything, for me, I'd like to see as many young Black doctors in medical aesthetics, because I think it's a huge field. It's not everyone who can afford surgery. It's not everyone who can afford. I mean, dermatologists. There's not a lot of dermatologists, and but there are those little treatments that we can do. So I think 5-10 years time, it's whether we're going into a training institution, but most importantly, again, for me, it's the mentorship, to say if you're starting a new clinic as a young doctor, medical aesthetics, where do you go? Can you just come to MASA and do a few weeks with the doctor? I probably won't be there in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, but be there as the mentor and just create that kind of a space for doctors, for young somatologists and therapists, because a lot of them, somatologists and therapists, they want to get into medical aesthetics, but there's not a lot of clinics that can accommodate them
right.
and give them that opportunity to just experience working with a doctor. And and even in the hair space, I mean, that for me is one of our biggest, I think, plans to say there's a lot that we can do with Afro hair, especially. There's a lot that we do not know. So whether going into research, going into products, going into education about how to take care of African hair, and
no, that's amazing. So I've had the privilege of obviously having multiple conversations with you about growth, and I love our conversation. It's about growth and scale ethically while still protecting your patients. And we've been together. It's been, I won't say a long time, but how has your experience been, working alongside us, and how important is it for a lot of medical professionals to find a growth partner? Because what we see is that the industry is closed off as if, advertising doesn't work for me or marketing doesn't work for me. And we see a lot of older practices have that perception about marketing and advertising as a whole. So what's your thoughts around that?
I must say, Shavir, the experience I've had with working with LiveSpace and your team has been absolutely amazing. It's been a game changer for us at MASA, because we opened our doors we're now in 2026, we opened our doors in 2024 August. And for a year and a half or so, we've tried different companies. And it was all about post on Instagram, post on Facebook, and that's the only like what do you call them, static posts?
Social, organic.
Yes, organic. And we were told, no, you'll grow organically, and we spent a lot of money, and we did not see that. You post and you wait for some response, and a friend or a relative comments, and that's it. But with LiveSpace, the one thing that I really like is that it's measurable. You're able to go on a platform and actually see that this ad is doing well, this one is not doing well, this is the return, maybe let's not do this. So it's there's a science to it. And I guess the scientist in me says that yes, it is working because it's measurable. So I would absolutely recommend what you guys are doing. I don't know if there's any other company that does it as well as you guys do it, but for someone like me who's tried this for 2 years of this business, and I know that this has definitely worked for us.
I do appreciate it. And I think, what we found is that in the medical space, it's because skepticism is so high. And I mean, you can understand, you guys go to medical school and this is how it's done. And we had a lot of pushback until we actually, had a breakthrough with a few clinics, got them results, and then that just helped us. And then, even niching down the number of clients we have to tell no to, even though they're willing to pay us money to come on board. But we know if we start to serve others other than who we serve well and get them results, it starts to deteriorate in terms of the business itself, in terms of the performance, at least. So we had to make that decision to say, hey, let's serve medical professionals, practices, clinics, etc., and let's serve them to the best of our ability. And that has been working well, even in the solutions that we are building. Maybe just the last point there is, do you think, and again, from a regulatory perspective, there's a lot of red tapes there, and what we're doing is we're actually hiring it. Well, we hired a lawyer to ensure that our guidelines, there's tick boxes there, we are regulated, right? When it comes to POPIA, HPCSA, etc. For other doctors, like when it comes to marketing and advertising, have you seen skepticism there when it comes to this specific industry or this specific part of their business?
There is a lot of skepticism, but I'll tell you that it's also because of the HPCSA rules, and I think, as a medical professional, when you have a platform like LiveSpace, you're always asking yourself that, am I still safe? Am I not? What can I say? Can I say Botox or toxin? Or can I say filler? Can I say Sculptra? So there's always that. And remember, medical school, again, does not teach us to market ourselves. So the moment, like every time when you guys know, when you come to my practice and we do these videos, I always cringe. I never look at my videos because I'm always thinking, it's not what we're trained to do. We are trained to just heal and be the doctors and have someone else do the ads. And I remember talking to one of your team members, Sia, and I was saying to him that, but can't we have someone else do these videos for us? And he said, no, you have to be the face. But as a doctor, we are not trained to be that. And So there's still that skepticism, and
Yeah. No, thanks for that. And I think it's been an honor to obviously work alongside you. We're excited about where the MASA brand is going.
Yes.
We have amazing conversations, and I think we want to continue that.
Yeah.
But thank you for this opportunity to obviously work together. We don't take it lightly. Your business is important to us, but I think it's more the partnership and what you're doing for the community, for Black doctors, empowering them. We've had conversations about, bringing dermatologists in, training them up, giving them access to your clients. And, everyone is just about the money and, let me hire you and then you come in and then, you work for me. But I think what I love about what you're doing at MASA is that you want to build it, but you also want to bring people alongside you.
Yeah.
You're willing to help someone down the road, or someone who's looking to open up their own practice.
Yes.
So I think that's so important, especially in business.
Yeah.
And there's enough patience for all of us.
There's enough patience for all of us, but also just like I keep saying that, just knowing your strengths and knowing that if I'm treating a hair patient, that I'm not a dermatologist.
Right.
My expertise is hair transplant. So if I see someone with a CCCA, it's better for me to refer the patient to a dermatologist and say, as soon as the patient is stabilized, please bring her back for hair transplant. But the moment you become, no, this is my patient forever, and you see a patient as a money-making machine, then the ethics around that,
Dr. Latti, there was a dermatologist who you probably would know, and I had a chat with her, and because the hair transplant isn't really regulated right now, there's been the money, I don't know if we can call it in medical terms, but the money grab in terms of you shouldn't be doing this hair transplant, but you are. And she's seen cases where they come in, and we've had conversation as well, and she said, hey, she has these clients patients that are coming through, went for the hair transplant, spent 80,000, 100,000 rand on these transplants, and it just didn't take. And it's 6 months later, a year later, and she's just cringing to say she knows it's going to happen, but it's a challenge. And have you seen that as well?
It's a challenge, and it's also because we are not we're working in silos as doctors and with specialists. So if I'm running a clinic as a hair transplant doctor, I need to be open to knowing that I am not a dermatologist.
Yeah.
There are skin and scalp conditions that only a dermatologist can treat. And be able to say that to a patient. And because the moment you open up to a patient, I've turned a lot of patients away to say to them that I cannot do a hair transplant, because patients come in and they're like, I've lost my hair, can you do a hair transplant? And the moment I say, no, we still need to treat and investigate and do this, most of them are like, no, they move to the next clinic. But if you move to a next clinic where you find a doctor who is just seeing the zeros, that's exactly what you're going to see. And unfortunately, it's unethical. I've seen a lot of patients coming into our clinic where they tell you that I've done a hair transplant and it's not taking. And when you check, the patient has either an eczema that is untreated, that is also simple to treat. But just know your boundaries. Know where you draw the line and say, I'm not a plastic surgeon. I can't go and promise a patient that, no, I can remove the fat. And that's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But being able to communicate with dermatologists and not work in silos and say, I'm a hair transplant doctor, you are a dermatologist, therefore I can treat everything. So, yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get it. But thank you, Dr. Latti, for this opportunity. And we're definitely going to do this again. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.